When it comes to our health, how much of it is our own business? And when does it become everybody's business? That's what we're digging into today. The ethics of staying healthy and figuring out, really, whose choice is it? Okay, so picture this. You've probably seen one of those really graphic public health ads, right? Maybe it shows the lungs of a longtime smoker or the devastating aftermath of a drunk driving crash. Now, when you see that, what's your gut reaction? Do you think, wow, that's helpful information? Or does some part of you feel like you're being manipulated, scared into acting a certain way? That tension, right there, that's the core of what we're talking about today. So, to really get into this whole debate, we first have to make sure we're all on the same page. Let's define some key terms, starting with health promotion. What does that actually mean? What's so interesting is the difference here. Most of us probably think of health campaigns as health education, giving people the facts. But health promotion is so much bigger than that. It's about changing the whole system, the social, economic, and even political environment to make the healthy choice the easy choice. So you see, education is just one tool in a much, much larger toolbox. Okay, so if that's the project, what's the end game?
Well, this is where things get really complicated, because public health is often trying to do two very different things at the exact same time.
So on one hand, you've got this idea of goodness. The goal is pretty straightforward. Let's get the average health of the entire population as high as we possibly can. But then, on the other hand, you have fairness. And that goal is about shrinking the gap in health between different groups in society. The problem? Sometimes pushing for one of these can actually hurt the other. This quote just nails the ethical problem, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. What good is it if we raise the country's average life expectancy by year, but that entire gain only goes to the wealthiest people, while the most vulnerable folks are actually getting sicker? It's a powerful reminder that fairness can be every bit as important as the overall numbers. So how do health promoters actually try to hit these goals of goodness and fairness? Well, it turns out they have a whole playbook of strategies designed to, well, get us to change our behavior. And these strategies really run the gamut, from pretty subtle to very forceful. First up, you have conditioning. That's all about rewards and punishments. Think about getting a discount on your insurance for being a non-smoker. Then there's persuasion. And yeah, that includes those intense scare campaigns we talked about. Third is group pressure, using our social nature against us. And finally, number 4 is direct power. This is the heavy stuff, like banning smoking in restaurants or making seatbelts mandatory. And this, right here, is where we wade into some very murky ethical water. When does a powerful ad stop being persuasive and start being coercive? At what point does helping people make a good choice become just taking their choice away completely? It's a really fine line. Which brings us right to the heart of the matter, the core conflict in all of public health. That constant, epic tug of war between our freedom as individuals and the well-being of the whole community. And you can kind of see this fight play out between two competing theories. In one corner, you have the theory of natural law. This one says, hey, people have the right to make their own decisions. The job of health professionals is just to give us the information so we can make a rational choice, and that's it. But in the other corner, you have paternalism. This theory argues that, well, sometimes the experts really do know best, and they have a duty to step in to stop people from seriously harming themselves. And this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When is it okay for the community's health to trump an individual's freedom? We all lived through this with things like quarantines and vaccine mandates during the pandemic. Where do you draw that line? And let's get even more personal. What about our habits? Things like massive taxes on sugary sodas or cigarettes. They're designed to stop us from doing things that are, frankly, bad for us, but that some people really enjoy. Is that a justified way to improve public health, or is it basically infringing on our right to live our own lives for better or for worse? And this is where it gets really, really messy. This is the ultimate ethical puzzle. Imagine a policy that makes the whole country healthier. That's a big win for goodness. But it only works by seriously restricting the freedoms of a small minority. How in the world do you balance those competing priorities? There are absolutely no easy answers here. So with all of these thorny issues and conflicting ideas, you might be wondering, how on earth do public health professionals navigate this minefield? Well, they're not just guessing. They have a professional code of ethics that acts as their compass. This code gives them a framework. Now, it doesn't spit out simple yes or no answers, but it forces them to weigh all the things we've been talking about. It makes them consider how to respect individual autonomy while promoting social justice, how to push for good outcomes while making sure to avoid harm,
It's a constant balancing act between their responsibility to individuals, to the community, and to their profession.
And when you boil it all down, the guiding principle that comes out of all this ethical wrestling is really about empowerment. The goal isn't to dominate people or force them into submission. The best practice is to motivate, to teach and educate, not to preach from on high. It's about being a guide, not a dictator. So where does that leave us? I think the big takeaway is that public health is this incredibly delicate, constant balancing act. It's not just about sciencing data, it's about deep-seated human values. So, the next time you see one of those health campaigns, I hope you'll see more than just a poster or a commercial. I hope you'll see the fascinating ethical puzzle hiding just behind it. Thanks for tuning in.